Okay, in today's video tutorial, I'm going to show you how to model an astronaut character. Now, before you start to model your astronaut character, you have to find some image references. So I'm going to show you the image references that I found. So these are a couple of images, right, that I found on the internet. Right, and of course, we're not going to model something that is so realistic, okay, even though we can. I'm going to model something that is geared towards this character here, and I've produced a sketch to help me figure out the proportions. Okay, so once you have that, you might want to bring in your sketch, or if you have a reference that you want to bring into the software itself. Now you can model the character straight out without a reference. It's entirely possible, but it is always better to have a image reference. So the first thing I want to do is I'm going to put in an image reference, and I'm going to create an empty image. Okay, an empty image, and then under the empty image settings, over the properties, I'm going to open up the image, which is on my desktop, astronaut, and the sketch. So now the sketch is hidden behind the cube, so I'm going to press S to scale this up so I can see the image. Okay, and then I'm going to offset it negative 0.5 in the x-axis. You can type a negative 0.5, and then I'm going to rotate this in the x-axis RX90, so it's facing the front. Okay, so now I got one image done. I'm going to Shift D to duplicate it, so I have two images, so I can use the right side as a reference. So I'm going to rotate in the z-axis 90 degrees, and then I'm going to push this image back in the x-axis. Right, so I'm going to select this, right mouse click to select this, and then position this so that he's facing forward, and then this reference is facing to the side. So now I can press 1 in my number pad to change the front view, press 5 to go to the orthographic view, and while the empty is still being selected, we can reduce the transparency. Okay, I'm going to select the front transparency and then reduce it so we can see through the grid line. So again, this is a rough sketch, so it might not fit the proportions exactly. So now I'm going to switch to the side view, right mouse click to select this reference, and I'm going to reduce the transparency so I can see through the grid lines. Okay, so for this astronaut character, the first part of the character that is relatively easy to model would be the helmet. So the helmet is essentially a sphere. Alright, I'm going to put this cube aside. We'll work on this cube later, and we're going to create a sphere. So press Shift A, go to Mesh, and create a UV sphere. I'm going to use the default UV sphere, and then I'm going to position it right about the same height of my reference. Now it might help you if you can split your views into two. Right, I'm just grab the hash lines here and split this into two. Press T to turn off the tools panels here. Press 1 to go to front view, and if you are not in orthographic view, please press 5 to toggle to orthographic view. So I'm going to zoom in, press S to scale this down until it's roughly the shape of the astronaut's helmet. Okay, you can press Z to go to wireframe and to position it. Okay, so this looks good enough for me, and I'm going to turn back into shaded mode, pressing Z. I'm going to give myself more real estate since we don't need this timeline. I'm going to grab this hash lines and then drag it down. I have to join this up first. Let me just join these two viewports up first, because as long as the size of the viewport are not the same, you cannot join them together. So I'm going to drag this down so I don't have the timeline. Okay, so again, I'm going to split this into two views by grabbing the hash lines here, and I'm going to switch this to a more of a perspective view, and this one a front view by pressing the number 1 numpad. Okay, so I'm going to select the faces. Right now I'm in the front view. I'm going to select the faces that form the visor. All right. Now you can work on half. Okay, half the sphere using a mirror modifier, which I'm going to show you now. And also I don't want to accidentally keep selecting these references, so I'm going to right mouse click to select the reference, going over to the outliner, okay, which is this empty here, and I'm going to click on the cursor arrow, select this reference, click on the cursor arrow so I don't accidentally select them and move them. Okay. And I'm going to select this sphere and I'm going to split it exactly into half. So I'm going to press tab to go to edit mode, press A to deselect, I'm going to press Z to go to wireframe, and then I'm going to press B to go to box select, left mouse click and drag a box on the left hand side. Now you notice that only the vertices are selected. That is fine. You can continue to increase the selection by holding down the shift full stop to increase the selection. Okay, sorry, my mistake, shift number pad plus. Okay, that command was control alt number pad plus. Okay, my mistake, control alt number pad plus to increase the selection. Okay, my mistake again, because I've been switching between Maya and Blender, so I get confused with the shortcut key. So control number pad plus, control minus on the number pad to shrink the selection. So by clicking on control number pad plus, I can select exactly half of the sphere. Alright, exactly half the sphere, and then I'm going to change this into faces. So control tab, go to face selection. Okay, or you can start off with faces and select half the faces and go ahead and delete away the faces. So now we got half the sphere, and I'm going to add a modifier. Okay, go and click on add modifier in click on this spanner icon here and create a mirror. Okay, if you are following the same orientation as I have, you by default the other half should be duplicated. And I'm also going to turn on clipping. Now I want to select the faces that form the visor. Okay, and there are a number of ways that you can select. You can start off by selecting one of the faces here, and then you can hold down to control. Okay, holding down the control, and then this row of faces will be selected, and then moving down these row of faces, you can hold down the control again, and then holding down the control to this area. So now these area of faces are now selected. And now I want to paint select these group of faces, so I'm going to press C to go to circle or circle brush tool, left mouse click and drag and paint over the faces that you want to create the visor. Okay, so I've selected the faces that I want to form the visor, and you can go ahead and extrude it in or out to create the visor. So I'm going to press E to extrude. Alright, so I'm going to extrude it inwards. Okay, just a little bit. And now you have the visor that's created. Now on hindsight, I think it would be much better for the topology flow to follow the horizontal line. So I should have rotated the sphere. So let me just undo this. Okay, or I'm just going to get rid of this sphere and start all over again. Okay, so I'm going to move my cursor here, left mouse click to put the cursor there. So shift A and create a UV sphere, and ideally I should rotate the sphere 90 degrees like so, and then I'm going to press S to save it. Sorry, scale it down, press G and then move it into place. Yeah, so I think this orientation of the topology lines is much better. So now I'm going to switch over to edit mode by pressing tab, then press A to deselect, shift control tab to go to face selection mode or edge selection mode. In this case we're already in face selection mode, so press B. Okay, move your cursor to the top left hand corner and drag and select half of the sphere, and then I'm going to delete away the faces. And right now I'm just going to add a mirror modifier and with a clipping on. Okay, and I should be able to see. Okay, let me just undo this and let's try this one more time. Select the sphere in object mode. Okay, add a modifier and mirror. Okay, the reason why I'm not seeing the mirror is because when I rotated the sphere, this is mirroring the object's own own axis. So we need to do an operation called resetting the axis. Okay, so I think I have to press Control A, and then I'm going to reset the rotation. And this time when I apply the mirror, right, I will see the two halves being created. So this step is very important. Otherwise, when you rotate your sphere, you will not be able to do the mirror properly, like the mistake that is happening to me just now. So I'm going to turn on clipping, and I'm going to start over again. I'm going to go to face selection mode, and you can see that the mirror is working now. You can see the mirrored version on the other side, and pressing tab to go to select, holding down to control, and right mouse click to select this border of faces. Okay, and if you go to the right now it appears that the faces that I've selected is on the back, which is not what I want. I'm gonna press A to deselect, and I'm gonna start from the front here, right? And I'm gonna hold down the control key to right mouse click, then select, and then this group of faces here, and then while holding down the control, still holding down the control, and right mouse click to select these border of faces. Holding down to C, pressing C to go to the circular brush tool, left mouse click and drag to paint over the selected faces. Alright, so now we have the faces selected, we can create our visor. So this is very important. Make sure you turn on your clipping on, otherwise you have this central faces. Just press E to extrude one section of face out. Alright, and then we can also apply a subdivision surface just to subdivide it to see the kind of effect that will give us. And so far so good, it looks okay. Yeah, we got the helmet look that we want, and also I want to flatten the sides a little bit, or maybe even just pull out an extrusion just to give some interesting detail. So I'm going to select one vertex in the center, then control number pad plus to increase the selection, and control number pad plus again to increase the selection. Then I'm going to press E to extrude a helmet detail. Alright, and then maybe scale this one down, and then maybe press another extrusion again. Alright, okay, so this is some extra detail that you can add. And let me just smooth out everything. I'm going to press T to turn on the tools panel, and I'm going to click on smooth to smooth this out. And now you notice that there is this shading that doesn't appear very nice along the corners here. So we are going to go over to this button here, okay, and then we are going to turn on auto smooth. So when you turn on auto smooth, you can see that areas which you want to be rounded and smooth will be smooth, and areas that will be hard and have an edge will have an edge. Okay, now I would like to have an extra, maybe a bevel or an extra edge here. So I'm going to go to edit mode again. I'm going to hold down to Alt, right mouse click to select this edge loop, then Shift Alt, right mouse click to select this edge loop, Shift Alt to select this edge loop. While this edge loop is still being selected, so this edge is now being selected, you can apply a bevel. So you can apply a bevel by pressing W to access the specials key and apply a bevel. So I'm going to create a small little bevel. Okay, you can also control the number of segments you want. Okay, I'm going to just give it 2 segments, pressing tab, and then now I have a beveled corner around this section. Alright, I'm going to apply another smooth to it, okay, to make sure areas which are supposed to be smooth will be smooth. And perhaps over here, the ear caps here, I want to add another edge loop. So Control R to insert another edge loop so that this corner will be tighter. Control R again, and then insert one edge loop. Okay, so that I have a simple looking helmet. Okay, now what about the base here? Because we want to create a round circular base, okay, for the helmet. Now at this stage, right, we can go to the side, and then we can press R, go to edit mode first, select all the vertices, and then you can press R to rotate it slightly. Okay, now on hindsight, I think I'm not going to rotate it yet. I'm going to create the circular section just below the neck. Now, I'm happy with the detail for this helmet, so I'm going to just merge the two halves together. So go back to the modifiers, and then I'm going to apply the mirror modifier. So now the mirror modifier is applied, and I have a single object. Okay, so let's see now. We are going to look at the bottom here, and we're going to figure out how we can create a circular section to form the opening of the neck. So now you can actually select all the faces, and you can manually move them until they form a circle, but that will take too long and it will be too slow. So there's one tool and add-on in Blender which is called Loop Tools, which you can use to do all that. So let's go and activate Loop Tools first by going to the User Preferences, go to Add-ons, and make sure your Loop Tools, you can search for Loop Tools under the search, type Loop, and then check on this box to enable it. Save the user settings. Okay, so now your Loop Tools is activated. So let me show you how it works. You go to the bottom of your helmet, press Tab, and then select an even number of faces, okay, that you want to form the neck area. So I'm going to go to Control Tab, go to Face Selection Mode, and I'm just going to roughly select a shape of a circle. Okay, right about here. And again, you can use the Control Number Pad Plus to increase the selection or decrease the selection. Okay, I think I do not want to affect the edge here, so I want to move deselection up. So I'm going to deselect these group of faces, holding down to Shift and right mouse click to deselect, and then I'm just going to select these group of faces here instead. Okay, roughly select a circular group of faces. Then you can press Control Number Pad Plus. Okay, I think this forms a good size circle, right? And then now press W, and then press W, and then access Loop Tools and choose the circle option. So what this Loop Tool does is that it will select these group of selected faces, and it will form a circle after you activate it. So once you activated the circular tool, you'll notice that now you have a very nice circular pathway which you can extrude out from to form the circular seal of this helmet. So with these faces still selected, you're going to press E to extrude one small section, okay, just to form the edge. Then you're going to press E again so they can form the helmet seal. Okay, I'm going to press it one more time to create the seal, and then there you have it. We have our helmet seal. Alright, and I think for these faces that are selected, we can simply press X and delete away the faces, and we have now formed the helmet with a very nice circular base. Alright, so with this done, now we can work on the body. Alright, so I'm going to bring the cube back into the picture again, and I'm going to show you how easy it is to form a body out from a cube, and again using the mirror technique. So I'm going to go to Edit Mode. I'm going to press Control R, left mouse click on the corner, and then when you click on it, left mouse click the first time, you'll be sliding the edge loop. So right mouse click, the edge loop will stay put. Then I'm going to switch to Face Selection Mode. Okay, right mouse click to select one face, and then press Control Number Pad Plus to increase the selection. Press X to delete away the faces. So now you have exactly half a box. So I'm going to add a mirror modifier, so that again, because it's in the x-axis, you will create another exact half on the other side. So we are now going to do a step called blocking. So we're going to block out the shape of the astronaut body. Right. So first I'm going to move this helmet to the correct or rough location. Now I'm going to select the cube. I'm going to name my cube accordingly. I'm going to call this body. And then my sphere, now I'm going to call it helmet. Okay, it's a good idea to always name your objects right from the beginning when you're modeling an object. Okay, because once you have hundreds or thousands of objects in your scene, if you have hundreds of spheres, hundreds of cubes and boxes, it is going to be very hard to manage. Okay, so I'm going to press Z to go to wireframe. I'm in the side view now. Okay, I can press Z to turn this into a mesh mode. Okay, right now I'm in my side view, orthographic view. So press B, go to wireframe, and I'm going to select both of these vertices on both sides, and I'm just going to move them into place. Now press A to deselect, press B again to select these group of faces, and I'm just going to just block out the shape. Press A to deselect again, and press B, select these group of faces. Press A again, press B, and then just move them into place. Now I can turn this into the front view, and press Z to turn it to a wireframe view. Now because my sketch is very rough, so it's not really symmetrical, so I'm just going to work on half of the body. And I'm now going to use the insert edge loop tool to insert more edge loops so that I can create the shape of the upper torso. So Control R to insert edge loop, create one edge loop here, and then you can start to select the side vertices here and then start to move. Now Control R again and insert an edge loop, and then I can now use my manipulator to move the tools or move the vertices into place. Press A to deselect. Now going over to the side view, I'm just going to press G and then press A to deselect, press B and then press G to create the shape of the suit. Okay, so I'm going to be continuing to select and create the different parts of the body. Okay, now at this stage I want to also create the legs. So in order, because okay, I have a mirror on, but if I select the bottom face here and I extrude, and if your clipping is on, it will not extrude as a single face. But now my clipping is off, I should be able to press E to extrude the legs out. Okay, like so. Alright, but I want to have more detail to work with, so I'm going to undo, Control Z to undo, and I'm going to insert one edge loop, Control R, and insert one edge loop right about here, so that I have enough detail to actually shape, okay, the groin area of the suit. Okay, so now if I go to shaded view, right, I can select this face here, and I can just press E to extrude to form the, press E to extrude to form one extrusion. Press G to move the face based on the reference. You can press S followed by Z and 0 to flatten it. Right, so now your face is flattened. Okay, I'm going to go back to the side view and I'm going to push the face forward to match the stance of the sketch. I'm going to press E again to extrude to form the leg, the rest of the leg, and then I'm going to press S to scale it down, and you can pull this back a little bit. Okay, press E to extrude a little bit more, then select the front face. Okay, so for some reason I keep selecting the back face in the wireframe view. I actually want to select this front face, then just press E to create the boot. Alright, so now we have the blocked out section of the body. Okay, we will be inserting more edge loops to refine the body. Now I want to create the arms. So select the shoulder face, and then just press E to create one small section. Alright, and then while you're in the front view, you can switch to a front view by pressing 1. You can just press R to rotate, and then pull the face down slightly. Repeat the action again, press E to extrude another face, and this time you might want to scale it down slightly, and then again while in the front view, press R to rotate and then pull it down slightly. Okay, so from this we can flatten the face before we extrude first. So I'm going to press S followed by Z and 0. I'm going to press E again to extrude, then I'm going to press S to scale this slightly. Now for the gloves, we are going to model it separately. Okay, now at this stage you can see I have a very basic shape of the shoulder, okay, of the suit. And we'll definitely need more edge loops so that we can create a nicer like neck cavity. So I'm going to Control R and insert one edge loop right across like that. Right, and since these are all four-sided faces, it's going to run across the entire body. And to give me more detail to work on, I'm going to also insert one edge loop that runs across here. Control R, move the cursor over here, and then left mouse click, right mouse click to exit. Okay, so now we have plenty of detail we can work on, and it is still a relatively low resolution model, so it should be easy to move around. Now I'm going to show you some tricks here. You can select an edge and you can press G twice, GG, to actually slide the edge. You can also apply the same thing for the vertex. GG, and then you can slide the vertex. GG, slide the vertex. Now what this does is that it preserves the shape of your model rather than moving the vertices, which you can do. Alright, but GG will allow you to preserve the volume of the original blocked out shape. Okay, so we're creating the back of the model. Okay, now we need to round up the leg a little bit. Okay, because if we were to subdivide this now, it's still going to have this very blocky look. So I'm going to select this and I'm just going to push it in. So I'm going to create a round cross section. Now if you want to do it quickly, remember what we did for the helmet, right? We can select the bottom faces, switch to face mode and select the face here, and then we can press W, and then use circle again, and they will create a circular cross section for you. You can apply that to an edge loop as well. So I quickly selected this edge loop by holding down to Alt, right mouse click, and now this edge loop is selected. Then you press W, loop tools, and circle, and notice that it creates a nice circle for you. And because we want to create a nice circle for our cross section for our shoulder, I'm going to do the same for this edge loop as well. W, loop tools, circle, right? And I think maybe this edge loop as well, selecting these edges, and then W, loop tools, circle. Okay, so now I have a circular cross section. All right, and I'm just going to manually move these vertices one by one. Now for the subdivision to work nicely, you will want to spread out the vertices until they are quite evenly spaced out. You do not want them to, like for the cross section of leg, maybe I'm just going to use the loop tools again and just apply a circle. Right, maybe these guys here, I'm going to select the loop around here, Alt right mouse click to select, and then but for this one, because there's a corner here, the edge loop will end here, you have to manually select this vertex, then again W, loop tools, and then apply a circle. So now it has a circular path, and then this circle, while they are still selected, you can still adjust the size. I'm just going to scale this down slightly. Okay, and we are going to add additional edge loops on this later on. So you can see we have blocked out our spacesuit, and let's apply the subsurface modifier, subdivision. So not excuse me, it's not subsurface modifier, subdivision surface modifier, and you can see we have a fairly good and fairly decent volume. I'm going to increase the number of subdivisions, and we're going to see what kind of suit can we get. Alright, so this one looks good to me, and I'm going to go to object mode, and I'm just going to hit smooth to smooth it out. And the bottom of these two faces, I'm going to select them and I'm going to delete them. Okay, you can press the X to delete, or you can just press delete, because later we are just going to be covering this up with gloves. Right, now let's go to the front view, and we'll notice that this astronaut doesn't have a lot of space for him to put his body in. There's plenty of space for the head, but there's not much space here. So because this is still a relatively low resolution model, if you go to wireframe and we are going to vertex selection mode, I'm going to press B to select these group of vertices, and I'm going to pull them down so it matches my reference a little bit better. Okay, alright. Okay, now we can move these vertices around to give him a more shapely behind, and I'm going to insert one edge loop here just to tighten up the belt area. Okay, and maybe these guys here, press GG to just slide them along the edge, and also push them around inwards, so we have a much nicer and rounder cross section. Okay, so I'm gonna go to my side view again, and I'm going to just give him a nice pose. Okay, just by pulling this back a little bit. Okay, so that it has a pose of a person in a relaxed fashion. And now we can select this group of faces and extrude out a portion so that we can actually connect the helmet to the suit. So I'm going to select the top faces here. Okay, I'm going to isolate the selection by pressing the / key on the number pad, and I'm going to select these faces, okay, to form the helmet seal. And before I do that, I'm going to use my trusty loop tools again and create a circular shape. So you notice the loop tools will recognize that you are mirroring it, so you actually create a semicircle. So this loop tools is a powerful add-on which I strongly recommend everyone to use. And now just press E to create a small section. Now remember, because we did not turn on no clipping in our mirror modifier, you can see an internal face is being extruded in the center. So I'm going to select these faces and I'm going to press X to delete away the face. Okay, and now I created the rim for the seal. I'm going to just move them up again, or maybe I'll just extrude them more again. I'm going to turn on clipping this time, and then I'm going to press E to extrude again. Now for clipping to work, you notice that because the faces are not touching each other, or the edges are not touching each other in the center line, we still end up with central faces. I'm going to select these faces and I'm going to delete them away. So now I'm going to select these two and bring them together. Now you notice with clipping on, once the edges touch each other, you will form a clean seal like that. See that? Okay, so now I have the seal for the helmet, and I think the area is should be big enough. And in fact, like the same before, I can select these faces and I can delete them away. So now I have created the opening for my suit. Now I can press / in my number pad again to unisolate select. So, and I have to figure out where I can best rotate to fit the helmet. I'm going to Alt right mouse click to select this loop, Alt right mouse click to select this face loop, go to the side view, and then I'm just going to rotate this until it follows the angle of the helmet, and maybe perhaps also scale it down slightly. Again, I'm going to push it back a little bit. Okay, maybe my helmet can come down slightly so that it will cover up the neck shape. And also my helmet is not exactly in the center, so I'm going to move it. And then what you can do now is you can manually select the faces and just shift them around, push them in until it forms, or it hides behind the seal, like so. Okay, so now we managed to position the helmet, okay, over the suit. Okay, and let's shape our boots a little bit nicer, because there's just too few detail here. So I'm going to press Ctrl R to insert one edge loop here, Ctrl R to insert one edge loop right about here, and then maybe these two edges here I'm going to just press GG to just edge slide them down. Alright, and I'm going to widen the foot edges here just a little bit. Okay, with two opposing edges selected and with the median point selected, you can press S followed by X to scale it up. So now I have a wider foot. Select this edge and then push it forward to create a nice round wide feet. And to give him a flat sole, I'm going to select the bottom faces. Okay, go to face mode, go to select the bottom faces, and just press E to extrude to create the sole of the boot. Alright, and again, maybe I'm going to run one edge loop, Ctrl R to insert one edge loop here, and then select these corners, these edge corners, and then push it back to give him or her a rounded heel, like so. Alright, so you use all the transformation tools at your disposal. Okay, I'm going to use scale to give this a much more rounded look. Okay, So now you have a nice looking boot. Okay, and also maybe I want to add more subdivisions for the knee. So Control R, add one subdivision here, and Control R, add one subdivision here. And while it's still being selected, you can just push it forward to define the knee area. Same thing, if you want to create a shoulder pad or shoulder ring, you can actually select a ring of faces, and you can press E to extrude to create, okay, create a sort of a shoulder pad. So now I've extruded this, but I do not want the face to sit on top of each other. So I'm going to use a movement of the face where I move it out from its own normals, called shrink flatten. So you press Alt S to move the extruded face up. Okay, so now you sort of have this shoulder pad look, and if you want it to be more defined, you want to insert one edge loop at this edge here. So I'm going to press Control R to insert one edge loop here, and then right over here Control R, insert one edge loop here. Okay, maybe inserting edge loop here is not a good idea. You try not to insert too many edge loops, and I don't like the edge loop over there. In fact, I'll insert the edge loop right between here so that this subdivision will appear more defined right between here. So Control R, I'm going to click here, and now I have my defined edge. Okay, so now I have the shoulder pad created, and I'm going to grab these vertices and just reshape it a little bit. Okay, again you can press GG to just slide the vertex and just to spread them out. Okay, have the habit of spreading out the vertices. Okay, pressing GG will slide the vertices on along the edge. Okay, maybe this one I'll just pull it out a little bit. Okay, so maybe the crotch area, this section here, maybe I want to pull it down. Now if you're planning to rig this character and animate this character, wherever there's a bend or where there's an elbow or knee, you want to add more edge loops. Okay, for example in the elbow here. So if you add a edge loop, you will be able to bend this if you have enough geometry to deform and follow the bones. Alright, so now I'm going to select all the bottom faces of the boot. I'm going to Control R to insert one edge loop right about here, and then go into the front view, go into wireframe mode, press A to deselect, switch over to face selection mode, and grab and select the faces that form the boot, and then I'm going to press E to extrude. Okay, but I'm going to right mouse click so the extruded face jump back again, and then I'm going to press Alt S to use the shrink flatten to expand the extrusion outwards evenly so that there is a very obvious boot line. Okay, so I'm going to insert more edge loops around here. Control R to insert one edge loop here, Control R to insert one edge loop here, just to define the boot. Okay, so the basics of our spacesuit astronaut character is more or less there. Now we have to create the gloves. Okay, so the gloves, we can actually create them separately, and again we can create it out from a box or a cylinder. So let's do something that is simple. I'm going to press Shift C to reset the cursor location. Okay, and let me just pull this aside. And again, if you have references, that'll be good, because you can see what is the shape of the hand, what the shape of the hand looks like. So have some references ready, and so you can refer to it. Now the sketch here I did here is very rough, so I'm just going to create a very simple glove from a box. So I'm going to start off with a box and basically modify this box into a glove. So I'm going to just scale this box down, then scale it along the x-axis, and I'm going to model the left hand first. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this face, okay, and then I'm going to just press E to extrude, and then I'm going to select the bottom edge and then pull it outwards like that. So this is the basis of where I'm going to form the thumb. Alright, and going to the top view and the wireframe view, I'm going to select the vertices, Control Tab to select the vertices, and then I'm going to rotate this group of vertices like that. Okay, so I'm form a shape looking like this. Alright, next I'm going to use my insert edge loop tool again, Control R to insert one edge loop here, here, and here. So altogether 3 edge loops. Okay, if you want them to be evenly spaced, okay, you can, let me just undo this. If you want them to be evenly spaced, just press Ctrl R and then roll your middle mouse up 3 times and left mouse click, and then right mouse click again, and now they're evenly spaced. So now we have the basis to actually extrude out all the hands, or sorry, all the fingers. So first I'm going to select this group of this face, and I'm going to rotate it RZ axis and pull it down slightly, then shift select this face RZ this direction and then push it down. Okay, I want to create a relaxed hand, so the thumbs or the fingers will be pointing downwards like that. Now if you find this orientation a bit tough, you can always rotate. I'm going to rotate this mesh 90 degrees until it is like that. So create a shape that looks something like this. Okay, and then because this is going to be the wrist, okay, again I'm going to select all these faces and I'm going to use the wonderful loop tools again and do a circle. Okay, so now you can see this forms the basis of the palm. Okay, I'm going to extrude one section by pressing E, then press S to scale it up, press E again so that I'll have enough geometry to just plug onto the opening here later on. Okay, so now creating the rest is fairly simple. Select this edge, press GG to slide it back. Alright, and then we are going to extrude out the thumbs and the fingers individually. So select the thumb, index, middle, ring, and then the little finger. Okay, maybe the little finger we want to make them a little bit smaller like that. Okay, now select all the faces and we're going to use extrude individual. So click on the extrude individual, and now we're going to extrude individual faces out from it. And for this I'm going to select the thumb and I'm going to shape it first, select this face and then make it smaller, and use your rotation tool to adjust to create the thumb. Okay, press E again to extrude, and press S to scale it slightly, and then press E again to extrude another small section, and S to scale it down slightly. So we have the thumb done. Now the rest of the fingers will be quite straightforward. Okay, so you press E. Okay, make sure you're in orient yourself in the correct view. You can press E to extrude one section, then press R to rotate, then bring it down, then press E again to extrude, then R again to rotate, then press G again to bring it down. Then you can scale this down. Okay, and then you press E again to extrude, rotate this, press G again to bring it down, and then scale it down. Alright, so now I have one of the gloves done. Okay, and you can press Ctrl number pad plus to increase the selection, going to the top view, rotate it outwards, and then just move it away from the rest of the thumb. Now to speed up the process, rather than extruding all of this one by one, I'm going to show you a trick which you can stitch a duplicate of the gloves or the finger portion of the glove to the openings here. So I'm going to select these 3 openings, press X to delete away the faces. Alright, and now we have to, I'm going to go to edge mode, Alt right mouse click to select this open edge and just move it out of the way slightly so that we can see the edges. Same thing for this one. Spread it out slightly. Right. Now I'm going to select this group of faces. So select this face, Control number pad plus, Control number pad plus again to increase the selection until you select this group of faces. Now the best part is I can Shift D, Shift duplicate to create another section, and then I can rotate it in my point of view, rotate it along the Z axis until it more or less matches the position of the finger that I want to stitch. Now you are free to extrude them one by one again. That is perfectly fine, but I'm just showing you that there is another alternative method. So again, I'm going to Shift D again. Now remember, this is we are still working on a single object. Okay, this is just a new element that we have created. So I'm going to Shift D and then create the small finger, and because the small finger is smaller, I'm going to just scale it down slightly and then rotate it until it matches the orientation. And then we can go to wireframe by pressing Z, then Control Tab, go to vertex mode, and we can start to stitch our thumbs together. So select these two vertices, okay, and then you can Alt M and you can choose center, and then Shift select these two, and I think you can press Shift R to repeat last command. Okay, so again I'm going to demonstrate one more time. So to stitch the vertices together, select the two vertices, Alt M is the command, and stitch or merge the two vertices together is merge the center. Then to repeat last command, make sure to select the correct vertices. Let me just show you here. Select in shaded mode, select these two vertices, then because we merged earlier on, you can press Shift R to repeat the last command. Shift R and repeat last command so that you can do this quickly. Shift R, right? Okay, go to wireframe mode by pressing Z if you cannot see. So Shift R. Okay, you have to make sure that you are merging the correct vertices. Okay, Shift R. Okay, we are not moving, so Alt M to the center. You can also turn on a vertex snap. You can enable the magnet tool right at the bottom here and switch over to vertex. And when you press G, it will snap to the closest vertex. And then if you shift select the other vertex, you can then press Alt M and merge it. Okay, Alt M at the center, then Shift R, Shift R. Okay, so now I've merged and I've created my glove, my simple looking glove. Okay, and if I were to press apply a subdivision modifier, it should look relatively okay. Alright, so I'm going to add a subdivision surface, and you can see I got a fairly decent looking glove. I mean, there might be some areas that I need to adjust. I click on the smooth shading to smooth out everything. So I got my glove done. So I want my glove to be a little bit thicker, so I'm going to select all my faces. Okay, and then I'm going to press Alt S to shrink flatten. Okay, right now the snapping tool is on. I'm going to turn that off. Okay, and then I can now make my gloves look a little bit thicker. So Alt S is the shrink flatten tool. Again, this is a tool that I use a lot, and to give my gloves this thick look. Now I'm also going to delete away the opening here, right, so that it has a more defined edge here. I'm going to Control R, insert one edge loop here, maybe insert another edge loop here, and then maybe select these group of faces, press E to extrude, then press Alt S to extrude outwards, then press E again, right mouse click, and then Alt S to extrude again. Or you can just simply insert edge loop to create the harder edge here. Now if you see this phenomenon here, a mix of smooth and hard faces, just go to object mode and hit smooth. Alright, so now my glove is done. I got one glove. I'm going to rescale and position it. So I'm going to rotate this. Okay, the glove looks a bit out of shape, so I'm going to just scale them up in this fashion. I'm in wireframe mode. I'm going to just scale it up with the Z axis, so give it a little bit more definition. Yeah. So now I can select this object, rotate it 90 degrees, R90, then press G and then plug it in. Okay, and then I'm going to rotate it slightly. Okay, go to edit mode, select all, press A a couple of times and then scale it up. Now the normals seems a bit off. I'm going to press W and then I'm going to say flip normals. Okay, no, I think the normals is fine. So I'm going to say flip normals again. And press Control N, just make sure the normals are consistent. Now just adjust the position of the gloves a little bit. And that's it, we have the gloves done. So I'm going to Shift D, duplicate another glove. And then I'm going to manually move it to the other side. And I'm going to flip this model. The command, I believe, is Alt Control M, Control M, and then you press the X-axis. So now it flips along the X-axis. Okay, so I have now duplicated two gloves. Okay, and let me just name it accordingly. This is the left glove, and the other cube, this is the right glove. Okay, now this tutorial has gone on long enough, so I think I've covered quite a lot of information on creating this model. So if you want to see the seams, make it a little bit more obvious, or you want to create like a section like a knee guard, you can always select the faces and then press E to extrude, then right mouse click so it snaps back, then press Alt S to let it expand a little bit. Then after that you can use Control R to insert edge loops to have this supporting edge loops to create all these seams. So likewise for the rest, like if you want to create a belt here, okay, press E to extrude, okay, and then Control R to extrude or insert edge loop, and we have this supporting belt-like structure here. Okay, so this is a quick example. Okay, if you're a beginner, you might find that this is quite time consuming, but this is how you create a very basic looking astronaut character, okay, using subdivision modeling techniques. Now when you're ready, when you're done with your model, you can apply the mirror modifier, especially for this guy here. I'm just going to apply it, and I forgot to mention one most important thing, that is you have to save your file. I've been working on this for so long, I didn't save it. So let's just save it, Cois Astronaut, and let's just put it out on this folder here. Yeah, and then that's it. Okay, the base modeling of the model is complete. Additional details you can add it onto your character yourself. Alright, so this is my first tutorial for 2019. Once Blender 2.8 is out, I'm going to officially transition to the new version of Blender. So hope you learned something from this tutorial, and thanks for watching.